Welcome to Back to School Wellness for LIS Students. Mental health is just as important as physical health, and sometimes we push forward without any strategies in place, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I am glad that you made it to this program today. And if you are listening to the recording, it's great as well. Our speakers today are Taryn Rayner. She is Student Support Specialist at the San Jose State University School of Information. Taryn's there. And myself, I am the High School Health and Wellness Ambassador. I will start. And today we are going to learn basics about strategies to manage stress, to prevent burnout, manage time, become familiar with apps and free AI to boost well-being, and basics for self-care and work-life balance. And this is all included in the presentation. All the information is also general. We have limited time, but I do encourage everyone to come back and to really deep dive into the links and information. It's important to say that if anyone is experiencing acute symptoms related to general health and mental health, please see a health practitioner. Our wellness and well-being doesn't happen by magic. We have to put a little bit of work on it. But now we're going to do a breathing exercise. And this can help to regulate breath, increase oxygen to the lungs, can help reduce blood pressure and lower the heart rate. We're going to sit straight on our chair with our feet firmly planted on the floor, our back aligned to the back of the chair, and straight as if we have a thread pulling us up very gently from our head. We're going to exhale to the count of 5, hold it, counting to 5, inhale 5, and I will guide you through this. All right, let's start. Exhale to the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can lift our arms above our head very gently, wiggle our fingers gently, and then lower our arms again to our comfortable position. All right. And now we are ready to start or to continue. The National Institute for Mental Health and the World Health Organization say that stress is a state of worry or mental tension caused by a difficult situation. It is the physical or mental response to an external cause, such as having a lot of homework or having an illness. A stressor may be a one-time or short-term occurrence, or it can happen repeatedly over a long period of time. Stress can affect our body, mood, behavior, and the main reasons for student stress include academic pressure, time management, and financial concerns. Stress should go away if the situation is resolved. If it doesn't go away, it can become very acute, and that then becomes anxiety. Stress can be positive or negative. For example, it may inspire you to meet a deadline, or it may cause you to lose sleep. We don't want that. How to manage stress. And we are getting immediately into some of the strategies. And these are all coming from the World Health Organization. And it's a mashup from different ones and also from what I just read, the National Institute for Mental Health. Controlling your stress, sleep, balanced diet, staying hydrated, getting away from your desk, and enjoying nature. And you will notice that even though this is for students, it will include some pieces related to workers or desk or offices because most of our students are actually workers as well. So at work or in the office, related to the controlling your stress first strategy, you can schedule regular catch-ups with people you value. These are some strategies. Break large tasks into smaller ones. I'll go over this in a moment. Maintain a tidy work environment. Schedule some think time in your busy schedule. Allocate time for lunch and take it away from the desk. Recognize when you do your best work and plan your most demanding task around those times. Walk around more. Stand or listen to music, depending on what works best for you. Set reminders for a hard stop at the end of the work day. Take time. When you feel overwhelmed, take time to perform a calming exercise. It could be the breathing exercise we just did. Move around, walk outside, or head to the breakout room, or if you're home, to the kitchen maybe. Ask for help, seek out people you trust. Managing your physical and emotional energy. I'm going to speak about those two. Physical energy. Aim to focus or your work or study. Focus on that for 90 to 120 minutes at a time. Taking regular breaks. Eat smaller, lighter meals during the day to maintain your energy. The emotional energy. Now, you can practice abdominal breathing to manage negative emotions. I have heard some of my instructors that they even breathe if they're in a supermarket, if they are in a long line, they're getting stressed, they do this exercise breathing we just did earlier. And this can help to manage negative emotions, irritability, anxiety, impatience. Express gratitude and appreciation for others while adopting self-compassion for yourself. And that is part of the managing your energy, emotional energy. Now, we also have other strategies. For instance, 1 hour stress plan. Next time you feel stressed or overwhelmed, write a list of everything urgent you must do. Spend 15 minutes focusing on as many fast, small tasks as possible and cross them out off as you go. Spend 35 minutes focusing on the most challenging task without interruption. If you can, no email, no phone calls. Then take a break for 10 minutes. And ideally, you want to walk away from your desk. Repeat the process starting at step 1 with the new shorter list of activities. Now, let's look into the concept of work-life balance. And what is this quality of work life? Well, it's a cycle. It's not an achievement that you don't achieve it and that's it. You need to work at it. You must continue to work on it. And there is no official definition, but researchers and experts define it as don't work too much. Working more than 45 hours per week is detrimental to both physical and mental health. In 2014, John Pankable of Stanford showed that productivity per hour declines around 50 hours per week, and working more than 55 hours is pointless. You can make many errors, miss many important points. A study by time management author Laura Vanderkam showed that around 38 hours per week, that's the sweet spot. That's where the employees are happiest. Now, why is this important? Studies have found that working long hours can lead to such serious health issues such as impaired sleep, depression, heavy drinking, diabetes, impaired memory, and heart disease. Unfortunately, as these conditions arise, they can also exacerbate our work-life issues, leading to burnout or other negative repercussions. How we can then start trying to manage things so we don't get to the burnout situation. Well, there are some pointers on how to complete tasks with time management strategies, and these were published on the Association of College and Research Libraries publication, and there you have the link if you can come back to it to really deep in read in details. But check your job description. These are some pointers, and identify what tasks need to be done. Oh, what? Compile a written list of specific goals to be achieved so you can visualize them better. Consult with a unit head or supervisor for assistance in clarifying job responsibilities and performance expectations. This goes for office work, but also feel free to adapt them to your work with your professor or your instructors. Analyze your unique goals in regard to your personal values. Make sure that your goals are also in harmony with the overall mission of the library, right? This is for your office. Identify the most important goals that will make a significant difference in what you want to achieve. Develop realistic strategies to achieve each desirable goal. Jot down your ideas in writing so they won't be overlooked or forgotten. Set timetables for accomplishing your highest priority goals, either short or long term. Short-term goals would include tasks to be accomplished by your next annual review. And for example, long-term goals might be attaining tenure in 5 or 6 years. Regularly review your list of goals, perhaps twice per month, and update them as everything changes. There are values and priorities that can change at work and also in your coursework. So it's important to stay aware of communications. In terms of planning your week, at the end of each day, try to spend a few minutes, maybe up to 15, planning your task for tomorrow, or you can also review them in your mind, right? And each Sunday, you can spend 30 minutes planning the task for the week, including meetings, appointments, hair, nails, massage appointments. I mean, everything in your life. Try to kind of have an idea of what is going to happen that week. It's very important. Now, you can set reminders for all your tasks using your mobile phone or an app. You can set the reminder, for instance, 15 minutes before a meeting or before the class, so you can prepare and gather your things. Get ready. There is a really cool app called To Do Reminder, and another one, Reminders, on Apple Store, Google Play and Apple Store, and they are very good for this type of reminders. You can prioritize using the Eisenhower matrix to set your priorities. And let me show you how this look like. Okay, it's a popular tool that help you distinguish between tasks that are important, not important, urgent, and not urgent. And the quadrant has 4 boxes in which you can split your tasks to prioritize what you should do first. They also correspond with the 4 Ds of execution: do, defer, delegate, and delete. Quadrant 1, that's what is important and urgent. Do this first, and these are priorities that are most also relevant to your goals. Quadrant 2, important but not urgent. So you can defer this for a little later in your schedule. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important. You could delegate these to others if possible. Quadrant 4, not important and not urgent. You can delete these tasks or do them when you have free time because they might be distraction towards your goals or priorities. We go back to here. Chunking your time is another strategy. You can chunk your time in digestible pieces, and you can try the Pomodoro method. It requires using a timer to break down your work into 25 minutes intervals, separated by 5 minutes of break time. And after 4 Pomodoros, you can take a longer 15 to 30 minutes break. And by chunking time, you make big projects and goals less daunting, less procrastination, and more productivity. And the best Pomodoro apps for me is the Zapier.com. And you can look it up there in the link. Focus on one thing at a time. Arranging your time so that you can complete one task before starting another can boost your confidence. And further, it may be helpful to compartmentalize tasks. If you are writing, right? Many of us and many students write, for example, you may dedicate Monday to research, Tuesday through Thursday to writing, and Friday to editing. That's an example, but you know what works best for you and what are your deadlines, right? That's important. Block out distractions. Turn off your phone notifications, and you can set 30 minutes blocks to check email and check maybe your chats. And every couple of hours, you can do that too. So what works best for you, right? Every 30 minutes or every couple of hours. But important thing is that you do that instead of checking it every 5 minutes or 15 minutes. You got to make sure that you minimize non-work distractions, such as your cell phone, social media, or your favorite online store. You can use apps to block out distractions. For instance, there is Forest. It's an app that helps you to stay focused on off your phone. And the company partners with an organization called Trees for the Future to plant trees when you spend virtual coins earned in Forest. So it's very cool. Stay Focus is another app. It's a browser extension, I should say, that prevents you from using some time wasting sites or social media. It is highly configurable, so you can customize it to your specific distractions. And finally, establish a routine. While at work, create a routine, or if you are at home, around your work desk at home, create a routine that makes the most sense for your position. Why is this important? If a chaotic day comes along, you'll still be able to work through the issue while adhering to your routine. Now, the question for each one of you is, what works best for you? What is that routine? And lastly, when you complete a task, give yourself a reward. A favorite snack, a short walk outside. You can call a friend or a family member. For bigger tasks, you have bigger rewards. Read a book in the bath, plan a night out with friends, or book a getaway. Exciting rewards can help you push through an especially tough project or work period. To summarize, let's go over the strategies to manage academic pressure. And this include a summary of what I mentioned so far. Here, prioritize tasks, set realistic goals, establish a study schedule, designate specific time for studying, and stick to that consistent routine. Seek support, practice self-care. We're going to go there in a moment. Stay organized, and mindfulness and relaxation. And we're going to go there in a moment too. Hopefully, implementing these strategies can help you to manage academic pressure more effectively. Now, there are some apps that are very useful, but I must say these are not for crisis or emergencies, and these are not a replacement of health practitioner. So if you study them, research them, and decide they're good for you, you can use them every day. And if you, when you are in a crisis, then, of course, they can be helpful along with other health practitioner help. All right, the ADA Health is an app and is free to download and use. It uses AI and clinical evidence to help users understand their symptoms and manage their health. Remember, I said study them, research them, and then you decide if this is for you. It provides a personalized assessment reports that include what may be wrong, what to do next, and health articles written by doctors. It also has a symptom tracker and can help users find care options based on their symptoms and health profile. So be aware you might need to enter personal information. The app is available in 7 languages: English, German, French, Swahili, Portuguese, Spanish, and Romanian. And the ADA app is accessible for both iOS and Android devices. And so be aware of that there are some important points, right? Information that you need to share, things like that. Samvelo is a free app that offers tools and resources for managing stress, anxiety, depression. It provides mood tracking, guided meditation, cognitive behavioral therapy, exercises, and peer support groups to help users improve the mental well-being. And here you have some of the screens and how that will look, right? You open it and you receive a prompter. How was your week? And so on. So it helps you to track your mood daily, and it has different coping tools that you can use. It also has a community feature, which contains both community discussions and chat groups that offer peer-based support for those going through similar stressors or mental health symptoms. Breathe to Relax is a free app developed by the National Center for Telehealth and Technology, and it offers diaphragmatic breathing exercises. So it's like the one we did, but it really, you kind of focus a bit more on your stomach, right? It comes from the diaphragm and inside out. It's not AI powered, but it provides evidence-based techniques for promoting relaxation and improving mental health well-being. And of course, you might have heard of Calm. I really like it. Use it for meditation, relaxation, through their recorded meditations, stories, and music. It has a free component, but it is actually a paid one. A free component is still good. Now, self-care. Self-care is important to help manage your symptoms of stress, anxiety, and promote your overall well-being. And this information is, again, it's a mashup from the World Health Organization, the Centers for Disease Control, and other research have done. But they all encourage to avoid or cut down on alcohol and don't use illicit drugs which can make stress worse. Exercise regularly, even if it's just a short walk. Just shake it. Stick to regular eating and sleeping habits as much as possible and eat a healthy diet. Learn relaxation techniques such as slow breathing and progressive muscle relaxation, and develop the habit of mindfulness meditation, even if it's just a few minutes per day. I want to just make a pause. Slow breathing, we had an example. Progressive muscle relaxation, this is a more in-depth technique. You lay down and you start breathing as we did, right? Exhaling and counting, but also then you start feeling your toes, your feet, your leg. And so it's more in depth. It is wonderful. And I suggest you look more into that. Now let's talk about mindfulness. Since I just mentioned that developing a habit of mindfulness is very helpful as well. Mindfulness is a meditation in which you focus on your breathing and on being intensely aware of what you see and feel in the moment without interpretation or judgment. You are in the moment. Practicing mindfulness involves breathing methods, guided imagery, and other practices to relax the body and mind and to help to reduce stress. Recent research shows mindfulness meditation may be as effective as reducing anxiety as medication for some people. Now, Harvard Medical School details some of the techniques that can help us to reduce stress and help us, getting back in track for school, although that we already are a month or so in. But try to mix one of these or try to work with one and then you build on that. But try to do also 20 minutes. This is the number of the amount of time recommended. Breathe focus. You can take long, slow, deep breaths, also known as abdominal or belly breathing, the diaphragm I mentioned before as well. And as you breathe, you gently disengage your mind from distractions and thoughts and other sensations that can be distracting. Guided imagery. I like this one. For this technique, you conjure up soothing scenes, places, or experiences in your mind to help you relax and focus. Guided imagery may help you reinforce a positive vision of yourself. And in this exercise, for guided imagery, you really, if you, for instance, if you conjure a river scene, you are looking at the water, the speed of the water, the rocks, the colors, the if you smell something, it's very interesting. Again, I encourage you to look more into that. Yoga, Tai Chi, and Qigong, or repetitive prayer or mantra are other techniques that can be very helpful as well. Now, there are some strategies that are really helpful for a healthy work-life balance or study-life balance, right? And the self-care wheel that we have on the screen, it's highly recommended for many years by many practitioners, and it's very useful to visualize the different types of components we can include on our self-care plan. And there are 6 categories: psychological, emotional, spiritual, personal, physical, and professional. I have kind of copied the self-care professional here for our benefit, and you can come back to these. And the purpose is that we reflect and select a couple of them, and then we can build on that. For instance, I will read one column, and these are some of the recommended strategies. Take time for lunch, set boundaries, do not work overtime, leave work at work, do not work during your time off, get regular supervision, get support of colleagues, take mental health days, learn to say no. Well, if you say no, provide an alternative. Don't leave people hanging, right? Plan your career, your next career move, take a class, take all vacation in 6 days, right? These are recommendations. So which one can you do and which one you can start kind of adapting? And there are other 2 columns that you can look into, but I always say start small, 1, 2, and then build on that. Come back and maybe add another one. So that doesn't feel like you are really overwhelmed trying to bring self-care into your life. Now, for the piece of resistance, we have a self-care plan for master's degree students to help manage um, stress and maintain balance. I put master's degree, but you could be in any type of, the level of your education. I think this can be useful for everybody. And again, if you can write down one thing now as you are here with us today or listening to the recording, and then you can add more. But important part is that you do try to write one or mentally check one. And that's important because then you can build on that. All right, let's do this together. Time management. Create a schedule. Use a planner or digital calendar to map out classes, study sessions, and personal time. And we all have a phone, so maybe you can start with a digital calendar. You can write that down. Set priorities. Identify urgent versus important tasks to focus your efforts. So try to keep that in mind every time you are faced with a big task. Physical well-being includes regular exercise. Aim for at least 30 minutes of physical activity 3 to 4 times per week. It could be walking, yoga, gym workouts. Maybe you can start with walking, right? We walk everywhere. We walk upstairs, downstairs, around the office. So maybe that's one of the things. Healthy eating. Prepare balanced meals and stay hydrated. Keep healthy snacks on hand for study sessions. I will probably suggest that you stay hydrated. Maybe you start with that. Sometimes we don't even think about it and we don't really drink water. And water is what keeps our machinery going, right? Water and sleep. Sleep hygiene. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night. Establish a calming bedtime routine. And sometimes when I say this, people laugh and say, well, who has time to sleep? But sleeping is very important. It can help to regenerate our body. It really keeps our machinery going. And if you have to pick between sleeping and gym, I read that the experts recommend sleeping. And so you can look it up, research about that, but let's try to do the best we can about sleeping. Mental health. Mindfulness practices incorporate meditation, deep breathing, or journaling into your daily routine. And maybe you could do the deep breathing first, right? Just learn a very short exercise. Maybe that's a good one. Limit screen time. Designate tech-free periods to reduce stress and improve focus. Let's see if we can do that, right? It's a bit challenging nowadays. Social connections. This is very important. The General Surgeon of the United States have said that there is a loneliness epidemic, and this loneliness epidemic is really dealing to health problems. People are getting sometimes even to the point that they're so isolated, they don't go to doctor's appointments, they don't see anybody, very depressed, sad, and that can lead to major problems. We can stay connected, scheduling regular catch-ups with family or friends in person or virtually. Maybe you can write something down, maybe, oh, call my mom or call my friend. You can also join study groups, engage with peers for mutual support and accountability, right? Seeing people, talking to others, that's also helpful. Personal growth, explore hobbies, dedicate time each week to activities you enjoy, like reading, painting, gardening, listening to music or playing music. And maybe this is a bit easy, right? Because maybe you want to listen to music. Maybe you can write that down. Reflect and adjust. This is very important. Things change, life changes. So regularly assess your self-care practices and adjust them as they are better for you, right? Of your evolving needs. Seek support. Utilize resources and don't hesitate to seek help from campus, counseling services, academic advisors, or mentors. And we're going to talk about that very soon with Taryn. Weekly check-in is important. This is with yourself. You sit there with you and yourself at the end of the week, reflect on what worked, what didn't, and how you can improve your self-care routine. This could be a bit scary, right? Sitting with yourself, you don't have to write a notebook, but you could just mentally check, oh, maybe I need to increase my intake of water. Or maybe I can do a little bit of more walking around my neighborhood. Implementing these practices can help you to maintain a healthier, more balanced life while pursuing your university degree. And hopefully, we can reach a level where we are like those memes that we see right online, happy, happy, happy. Well, that we can reach a level where we are more comfortable with our lives. And so I hope this is helpful. Come back and look at each one of the links and each one of the information more in depth. And now I would like to welcome Taryn Rainer.
Welcome. All right, so you're going to have a lot of choices to choose from, and hopefully you'll be able to leave today, or if you're watching the recording, with a couple of strategies just to help us get through day by day. As humans, we are very emotional beings, and we spend the majority of our time just trying to control our emotions. So I'm Taryn. I'm the student support specialist for the iSchool. I've been supporting students in their journey for a master's degree. I've been supporting iSchool students since 2021. And prior to that, I was a school counselor for 20 years in the states of California, New Mexico, and Hawaii, at the levels of elementary, high school, and continuation high school. And I also support neurodiverse students. So today I was going to get into emotional regulation. If you have heard of upstairs and downstairs brain or the reptilian brain, then emotional regulation is pretty much the same thing. And it's defined by psychology today as the ability to exert control over one's emotional state. It may involve behaviors such as rethinking a challenging situation to reduce anger or anxiety. Anxiety and anger are common emotions that we feel at school, in the workplace, and with family and friends. So, which healthy and constructive strategy would work best to manage and respond to emotions? Well, do you believe emotions are good or bad? Do you believe emotions are controllable or uncontrollable? Emotional acceptance is acknowledging and accepting your emotions without judgment. So, research suggests that if we believe emotions are good and controllable, then we are more likely to choose to engage in an emotion navigation strategy. That also helps us to feel good. I always say that how you feel is always correct and right. It is the actions that make it right or wrong. And emotional awareness is recognizing and identifying your own emotions, naming the specific emotion we are feeling. So when we're naming our specific emotion, are we angry? Are we sad? Are we disappointed? A lot of times 90% of anger is based in fear. So figuring out what it is that you're fearful, and a lot of times naming that, the specific emotion instead of just anger, can help us decrease the sorry, excuse me, decrease the brain associated with our emotional responses. So in other words, you name it to tame it. So some healthy coping strategies, such as mindfulness, deep breathing, and physical exercise, helps by giving us more time to differentiate our emotions about how we feel about a situation. This, in turn, makes it easier for us to know what strategy to use to navigate our emotions in a healthy way. So emotional expression is communicating your emotions in a way that is respectful and constructive. This can happen by writing about our emotional experiences, which can increase our happiness, reduce anxiety and depression, and improve work and school performance. You can write about your experiences and make you an active creator of your own life stories. And as a result, you'll probably feel more empowered to cope with the challenges. Another strategy could be positive self-talk. It's replacing negative self-talk with positive comments. So try imagining you're a fly on the wall, watching your experience or talking about your experience in the third person. Studies have found that using self-distancing to understand one's emotions during a difficult situation, it can decrease the intensity of the emotional experience, which makes us less likely to ruminate and more likely to engage in constructive problem solving. In most situations, we have a choice about how to respond. And this is another method for regulating emotions by reappraisal, which is changing how we think about a situation in order to change how we feel. And studies have found that reappraisal is associated with greater life satisfaction and well-being and less depression. So you can do that by using anchors, identifying people, places, or things that activate your nervous system, and then practicing anchors that settle you. Knowing the triggers and anchors beforehand will help your nervous system and brain to not automatically go into fight, flight, or freeze. So here's just a few in my experience working with students at all different levels. Box breathing, which is a 4-second hold. It tends to work, in my experience, for visual learners because you can visualize the square. 5-finger breathing works best, in my experience, for kinesthetic learners. And the 5 senses works for all learners. And you can definitely find more strategies on the Healthline website and I put that website at the bottom of the slide. But those 3 are the best ones I have found working with students, and depending on the learning, how you learn as well. So remember, emotional regulation is a skill that we learn, and it can take time to practice and to develop. Effective emotional regulation can lead to improved well-being, better relationships, and enhanced resilience. So hopefully that quick presentation, you can grab a strategy, remember to practice, and I believe we are moving on to Q&A, so there is some great time for that.
Thank you so much, Tari. And let's see if there are questions. You can type them on the chat or in the Q&A box here. This is a great time, dedicated time for you to have some of your questions answered. While that happens, I would like to ask Taring if she could share the different offices or resources that are available, perhaps university-wide or school-wide for the students. So when they are perhaps watching the recording, maybe that refreshed their mind.
So definitely. So depending on if you're a regular session student or a special session student, you've already noticed that there's tuition and difference with the fees. So if you're a regular session student, you're paying fees that give you access to services by the university. So you can access the counseling center. You can access the gym. If you're a special session student, you're not paying fees for university services, but you can access the counseling center as a special session student. You will have to pay a small fee. I do not know what that fee is at the moment, but you can access counseling services for a small fee. There's a lot of counseling services that are available for free, and each state has their own counseling services, so you can look it up by state as well. You can always reach out to me. I can always help you with some quick, brief counseling and some academic strategies as well. Or if you're just wanting specific counseling services for your state, then you can reach out to me and I can research which ones those would be best for you.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'm going to put on the chat a link to, this is to the health and wellness from the school, and another link that goes to the Student Wellness Center for the university. These are to the websites. And maybe, Taring, if you have other links that you want to share, you could put them on the chat. Let's see, there is a question here. Okay. Do you have any time management or other tips on working part-time in person and juggling 6 units? That is a challenge scenario. I can see that there. The time management strategies I shared in my presentation should work out in all types of scenarios. This looks very challenging, definitely. 6 units is no joke, very serious. But the breaking down tasks in chunks of time, doing the kind of easier ones during the first 15 minutes, then dedicating a chunk of time, maybe 35 minutes, to your kind of bigger tasks without interruption is possible. And then taking a little break and starting again. That is recommended to go across the board, multi-sectoral for everybody. But it's not easy because you might get interrupted. People ask questions and or you remember you have something else to do. So it might take a little bit of time of adjusting and kind of practicing that. But maybe Taryn has other ideas as well.
Yeah, so one I've like to suggest is take your syllabi from your classes, and however you plan your month or your week, if that's a calendar online or a planner that you write in, whatever you use to organize your time, sorry, is to take the syllabi, put them on the calendar with their due dates backwards. So start at the end of the semester and work your way up to now. What this does is this allows when you're going backwards, it will help decrease some anxiety and stress and feeling overwhelmed. But then what it does is once you're done and you've made it up to now, you can go back and look each week and see what you have to put your energy towards, what is due. Then you can create a to-do list if you'd like, or you can break it down into time that you have each day or each week to work on that. But it helps in that feeling very overwhelmed and stressed. And instead of looking at the whole picture, you're breaking it down. So it's another form of chunking.
Mhm.
There's lots of different forms of chunking when it comes to time management, or academic, or the different ways in which we learn. So chunking is a very broad term, but this is one way to chunk. But it will also allow you to see each week where your energy can be spent. You're welcome,
Yes.
Andrea. Good question.
Yes, and also the apps to take breaks are also very important because sometimes we are consumed by these tasks and forget to take breaks, and then eventually doesn't happen immediately, but eventually it can lead to other health problems. So we need to juggle all these things at the same time, right? How to complete our task the best as possible, and also stay in within the well-being and healthy. But it takes a bit of a trying and error a little bit, until you find what is the technique that works best for you. But I hope that these various responses are helpful.
Yes, great. Great. We've done a lot of strategies. I think also remember that with each new semester or each new life experience is change, and change is the one constant we experience in life. And so juggling new experiences, juggling new semesters, a new job, everything is relearning. What works now in this semester might not work next semester because maybe you've taken 9 units or something has happened personally. So it's a constant learning experience of how to juggle life.
Yes, and something that you mentioned remind me that it's okay, and we should reevaluate our strategies because life changes, people change. There are many things that are impacting our environments, and it's okay to reevaluate, regroup, and then kind of redesign and continue. The bit of a kind of a problem comes when we think that we cannot do that. And I believe, and I want to believe that humans can always do that, can always regroup, can always look at things and kind of reinvent or redesign strategies to continue. Any other questions here? Thank you, Andrea. I hope that's good. Okay. Okay. What is a good way to avoid overbooking oneself or overcommitment? I actually teach a seminar that it's about saying no. And sometimes administrators kind of like scream a little bit, but it's not saying no, just that, right? And just, no, no. The, if we are going to say no, right? We looked at our plate and we are doing 10 things. and we are only able really to do maybe five. We need to think that we need to sleep, eat, we need to at least breathe and take a moment for ourselves. And sometimes if we add more to our plate, because no one wants to say no. I'm a yes person. I will say yes, yes, but sometimes it's not possible. It's not humanly possible. And we have to then find a way of either saying no or postponing. But how to do that? Because you don't want to say no and leave everybody hanging, right? And so if we get to the point of saying no, we need to think, okay, what is the alternative? Is there a colleague that can perhaps assist me with this? Can we delay this a little bit and then I will take it up, pick it up? And so we need to look at the scenario. And is this a priority for the boss or for my school work? Then what is the other thing that I can pause for a little bit and take this other task on? And so, yes, it's not only saying no, but there is a number of strategies for that. And actually, that is a free class that I provide, and it's available on Library 2.0. It's free. And so if you go there, you can sign up. And that one is the only one free one. It includes a short, maybe a half an hour class. But it just came to me because we are, like you said, we are overworked sometimes, overbooked. And how can we manage our lives and our relationships and on the office and also in school and family to the best possible so we are also healthy and in some type of well-being? Taryn, do you have other things to add to that?
Yeah, it's hard to say no. I definitely agree. It's hard for me to say no, and my first instinct is always to be like, yes, let's do that. But I've had to learn as well, and I'm still learning as to say no. Sometimes it works best if you are validating one's experience of why they're asking you to take on a task, whether it's a colleague or a friend or a family member, um, or a peer, whoever it is. Sometimes it's you can validate what they're experiencing, or why they asked, like, that's a great idea. Let me think about that. And what that does is that gives you pause and for you to figure out if you can juggle it, or maybe you can't juggle it on the day, but you can juggle it on another day. But by validating someone else's experience, you're not saying no. You're also saying, oh, that's a great idea, or that sounds like a lot of fun. Let me think about it, or let me get back to you, or let me get back to you on Friday, or whatever it's going to be to give you a little bit more time to think about it, if you can really take it on. That also allows you time to think about what's a good way to say no, which is really hard to do as well. And you can come up with different ways of saying no. And again, validation allows the person to know that you've heard them, and that you think that it's a good idea. So it's not negative, always starting the conversation off with a positive. There's a rule with teaching, and it's 5 positives to 1 negative. And that's hard to do in a conversation. But if you start off with a positive and then a negative and then end with a positive, that gives you a little structure and how to structure the conversation, or how to say no. But it leaves it on a good note. It starts it off on a good note, even if there's a bad note in between. So definitely saying no, just no, is hard.
Yes, and you describe the sandwich technique, the positive, then the meat of the situation, and then closing with a positive. Very nice sandwich. I I wanted to stress that it's not only saying no, right? It's what is the alternative once you have your time to process, as Tari mentioned, and pause. what is the alternative. And if it's at work, then it's different, right? Because you don't want to say no to your boss. But sometimes also works, and you will arrive to this decision because everybody works in a different environment. You should know your environment, your bosses or your colleagues, and then you could actually just say the truth. I'm working with 5 projects right now. I literally don't know how I'm going to do this, but maybe can we take it in 3 days or next week? So, evaluate the strategies that Taryn and I provided, and it's according to your reality. Everybody, I hope you know your environments, because it could be also with family, right? Everything kind of like is a cross-cutting situation for us, family, work, studies. It can really definitely impact each other. There's different dynamics. Um, I believe we are able to share the presentation. I know this will be recorded, and I'm not sure how soon, but maybe in a couple of weeks it will be available on the school YouTube. And I want to make sure that we can share the slides. And so that we have to figure that out, but you can go then to what we shared and the links and reread the information and perhaps share with your colleagues as well or your classmates. Um, so I hope this was helpful to you, and I would like to ask Taryn to say some final remarks,
Oh,
and then I will
yes,
close it up.
great. Thank you so much. This has been a great experience for me. I'm so sorry about my cold. I did just put my email in the chat in case you come up with another question in 3 days or in 10 minutes when we're done. I'm always available by email, and I'm here to support you through your journey to obtaining your master's degree. So sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and we need to remember the goal. The goal is the degree. And how we get there is how we get there. So if that's a semester off, if that's a semester with 12 units, if that's a semester with 3 units, the goal is the degree, and the journey is how we get there. And trying to control our emotions is a constant practice. And please remember that how you feel is always correct. It's always right. And it's the actions that make it wrong or right. And it's always a learning experience. And especially with change, since it's the one constant in our life, we're constantly having to relearn how to juggle things and how to say no, and how to preserve our own mental health as well.
Thank you so much. The only thing I will add is that each one of us is very unique, and we deserve to have good mental health, to have wellness in our life, to really enjoy and experience a state of well-being. And that will impact all areas in our lives. It's not magical. We need to work at it. But we can start with one thing, one step, and then build on that. Important that we can take time for ourselves, pause, and if you can only just sit there with yourself for a few minutes, that's good. So, like Taryn said, don't beat yourself up if you can't do lots of different things, but the one thing you can do, start with that. And hopefully, this will be helpful for you. We want everyone to excel and to graduate and experience well-being in their lives. So thank you so much. And the recording, like I said, will be ready, and hopefully the slides available as well. And wish you the best. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Okay.